Alright, in this video we're just going to do a bunch of word problems of all varieties, and all of them can be done with pretty basic algebra. First problem. Jimbo traveled 345.3 miles on his unicycle. After 10 hours, he was 3 times as far from the finish as he was from the start. How far was Jimbo from the start? Okay, the first step with every word problem is going to be to get yourself familiar with the problem and try to figure out exactly what the problem is asking for. And take one of the things that the problem is asking for and call it x. So in this problem, the question is, I think, pretty clear. How far was Jimbo from the start? That's going to be our x. And in a lot of cases, it's going to be a really good idea to draw a little picture. So I'm going to say, okay, here's Jimbo's starting line, and perfectly straight line. There's Jimbo's finish line. And we'll say that Jimbo is right here between the start and the finish. Now let's label what we know about this picture. We know that from start to finish, Jimbo traveled 345.3 miles. So we know from beginning to end is 345.3. We also know that Jimbo's distance from the start is unknown. That's our x. So his distance from the start is just x. We know that Jimbo has taken 10 hours here. So from here to here, it's taken him 10 hours. So I'm not sure that's totally helpful here in this problem. We also know that he was 3 times as far from the finish as he was from the start. So if he was a distance of x from the start, how far is he from the finish? Well, it's 3 times x. So he's 3 times x from where he is now to the finish line. So now we have ourselves a pretty simple math problem, I think. This distance here is x. The distance from where he is now to the finish is 3x. And if we add those two distances together, we know we have a total distance of 345.3. Now to solve this, we just have to combine these two terms together. We have 1x plus 3x, that gives us a 4x, equals 345.3. All we have to do now is divide by 4. Divide those two numbers out and you get x equals 86.325, and I guess those are miles. So to answer the question, Jimbo is right now 86.325 miles from the start. Let's try another problem. Harry is 19 years older than his wife, Shirley. Together their ages total 185 years. How old are Harry and Shirley? So the question is, what is the unknown? Well, we don't know how old Harry is, and we also don't know how old Shirley is. We don't really need two variables for those two because they're so closely related. So what I would do is probably say, define our x value to be Harry's age. You could do this problem with the x is Shirley's age, and everything would work out just fine as well. Okay, so if Harry is x years old, how old is Shirley? Well, Shirley is going to be, I guess, 19 years younger. So what does that mean? That means Shirley is x minus 19 years old. If Harry is 50 years old, then Shirley is going to be 50 minus 19 years old. Now the problem says, together their ages total 185 years. What does that mean? Well, it means if you add their two ages together, you get 185. So let's do it. Harry is x years old. Shirley is x minus 19 years old. Their two ages should add up to 185. We have ourselves another fairly simple algebra problem. X plus x is going to give us 2x. And then minus 19 is just going to stay there. Equals 185. We can solve this the way that we've been solving problems for the last week. Add 19 to both sides. So you're going to get 2x equals, what's 85 plus 19? 204. Divide both sides of the equation by 2. And we get 102 years old. Harry is 102 years old. To answer the question, we also need Shirley's age, so we need to subtract 19 from Harry's age to get Shirley's age. So Shirley is 102 minus 19, that's just 83 years old. Let's try another one. The perimeter of a triangle is 201 centimeters. The length of the sides are consecutive odd integers. Find the length of each side. Think about it for a little bit and see what you can do. I'm going to draw a little picture. So here's our triangle. It's a perfect, beautiful triangle. And I'm going to label one side because we're trying to find the length of every side. I'm going to label this side x. Now this says the length of the sides are consecutive odd integers. What does that mean for the length of the next side, the next longest side? Well, what are consecutive odd integers? 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Those are odd consecutive integers. So the distance between each of those integers is 2. So if the length of this side is 11, the length of this side would have to be 13. If the length of this side is x, then the length of this side has to be x plus 2. And if the length of this side is x plus 2, then the length of, we'll say, this longest side here would then have to be x plus 4. All of this information came from the fact that the length of the sides are consecutive odd integers, so their lengths have to differ by 2. Now, the perimeter of the triangle is 201, and the perimeter of our triangle is all three of those sides added together. So let's add them up. X plus 2 plus x plus 4. We know that the perimeter of that triangle has to add up to 201. Again, we have ourselves a fairly simple algebra problem. X plus x plus x is 3x. 2 plus 4 is 6. And let's see if we can solve that. To solve this, we would subtract 6 from both sides of the equation, and we get 3x equals 195. Now, to get x by itself, we have to divide by 3, and we get x equals 65. What did we just do? We just found x, and x is the length of this side of the triangle. So what are the other two lengths? Well, this side must be 65 plus 2, and this side must be 65 plus 4. So to answer the question, the lengths of our three sides are 65, 67, and 69 centimeters. Okay, let's look at one more example. Awesome Truck Rentals rents trucks for $19.95 plus 35 cents per mile. How far can you travel on a budget of $100? So the thing that we're asked to find is how far can you travel? That's the question. That's the unknown. We're going to call that x. So let's start adding up the costs of this trip. We get our truck for $19.95. But we have to pay 35 cents per mile. How do we represent that algebraically? 35 cents per mile. Well, if you went 1 mile, you paid 35 cents. If you went 2 miles, you'd have to pay 70 cents. If you went 3 miles, you'd have to pay 105 cents, or $1.05. So what we're really doing there is we're taking the 35 cents and we're multiplying it by the number of miles that we travel. So our additional cost because of our mileage is going to be 35 cents times x. Now here 19 represents dollars. Here 35 represents cents. So what we have to do is put a decimal place right there. And now 0.35 represents 35 cents. So again, $19.95 is our base cost. We're charged 35 cents per mile. This total thing can add up to as much as $100. So let's set it equal to $100 and see what x value we get out of this. So I'm going to subtract $19.95 from both sides of the equation and get 0.35x equals 100 minus $19.95 is 80.05. Divide both sides of the equation now by 0.35. I'm getting 228.7 approximately. And what that represents is the number of miles that we can travel on $100. Here's this week's video quiz. Good luck, and I'll see you in class.